Thanks for staying up later. I'm Bob Costas, and we welcome to our humble home here, Jonathan Winters. Do you like the surroundings?
You know, Bob, this is just almost like my home. My home changes a lot. If I have a bad season, of course, a lot of the toys are sold. But if I have a good season, then I'm able to get the jukebox back, never with the innards in it, because that's really expensive. The trains, I like to go. There's a guy who lives up the street from me who was in World War II. I'm wearing this for him. He probably can't see the show right now because he doesn't have his glasses. I stepped on him. And this is what would they call the ruptured duck? And
the ruptured duck.
Ruptured duck.
Yeah.
This was when I got discharged. They gave us, well, everybody that was in the service. You could be, you know, sewing buttons on an overcoat. I was somewhere in the Pacific. Many people have pressed me and said, where? I have no idea. I was an enlisted man. We were told to just keep moving.
You were 17 years old, right?
17,
you're in the Pacific,
yeah,
World
right.
War II, you're in the Marines.
Yeah.
Did you do your bits for
I did
your
everything
fellow
I could.
servicemen?
I killed a lot of guys in my own outfit. No, I'm kidding about that. I wanted to. I was on a carrier for a year, and I was very frightened because we slept over the one thing that was frightening, where all the bombs were. And, of course, if it took a bomb or hit, we would go up quickly. Also, and there was a lot of gasoline around us because it was an aircraft carrier. So I smoked a lot because I was nervous, and of course I'd see no smoking, gasoline, and I don't know what was the matter with me. I was a kid that was, you know, going through a lot of problems, and I go, and many of the guys would, I guess, were Catholic. They were genuflecting near me, and one guy took his life and pasted himself against one of the tanks. But I was, obviously, I got out of the war, and you see a fairly normal guy now.
Weren't the superior officers alarmed by this behavior?
Yeah, I went up to one guy who was a major, and I told him at the time, now we're going back to 1944, I said, I find you to be a very attractive man. And a lot of Marine majors don't catch on that quickly because many of them, I might say, are extremely bright. Most of them are. This guy probably had a lot on his mind at the time. You know, the shells were coming in. And I said, I find you to be a very attractive man, and many of the men like you. And I said, Major, you know, what you need for the men to really follow you is a white horse. I said, Napoleon had a dandy, even though he was defeated. Wellington had one to receive the papers. George Washington had a white horse. So did Cornwallis. Caesar, epileptic, he fell off a lot, but when they got him back on, he could ride. And
Cupid.
Yeah, Cupid.
Lip tiny, but white.
But hey,
tiny
it
horse.
moved. So I said, you need a white horse, and winked at him, which I shouldn't have done. And he said words that I can't repeat. We're mechanized. And I said, well, then maybe you need a white tank. I did 10 days.
Now, this ties in with a story I heard about you, speaking of the weapons of war. Did you once walk into P.J. Clark's over here at 55th and 3rd
yes.
and put a hand grenade on the bar?
Well, let me say this to our audience, because I'm not very happy about that, but I've learned to tell the truth because I'm 63 and I'm afraid I'm going to die. I think in the last quarter you got to start telling the truth. Yeah, but you have to remember, Bob, I was drinking heavily. I was into the second quart. And I was with a man, Bart, we'll say. He knows his name. He's probably listening in a retirement home. And
it's Bart.
Bart.
Yeah.
Bart and I were bombed, and it was a snowy night, and I walked in, and I said, I didn't take it out right away. It had no dust in it, by the way. It had been defused by me. And I bought it in an antique shop on 3rd Avenue, walked in, and I said, how about an extra scotch? Well, of course, I must admit my movements were considerably slower after well into the second quart. I have a second scotch. And my tongue was trying to pick up flies, and so the guy said, and rightfully so, you've had enough, Mr. Winters, which, of course, set me off. You know, various people get set off at various times, and he was being a little curt with me. And so I took the grenade out, pulled the pin, and I said, now maybe the scotch. and 3 people fainted, and one guy dropped his hamburger, I remember, in the sawdust. Bart said, "Get out of here." So we got out. He ran, I don't know what direction, I couldn't tell, we had to really move in. And I went up, I was caught up around Rikers.
Which was convenient, because they could just throw you right in.
That's right. And I put my hands up, of course, immediately to the wall. And the man said, "What the heck is the story?" Policeman, 2 officers. And I said, I sobered up rather quickly. People have a way of doing that, and especially if you're going to do 1 to 5. And so I said, "Officer, this is a terrible thing that I've done. I am guilty. I'm sorry." I gave him almost the entire, my interpretation of the war, and almost from the beginning to the end, and moments, Saipan, truck, marshals, Guam, and he said, "All right, put the damn thing in your pocket and go on up home." And I said, "Thank you so much, sir, and you do a wonderful job. Protect and serve." And that was it.
When you started out professionally, was there anybody doing the kind of thing that you wound up doing? I mean, so many comics now cite you as an inspiration. Robin Williams is a direct descendant, and other people have taken parts of your bits and embellished on them, or in some cases flat out stolen them. But who was your inspiration?
Well, I was always inspired by 2 guys that weren't so much. Well, there were several people that I was inspired by. Interestingly enough, they weren't comedians. It's not that I didn't see other comedians like Laurel and Hardy. My God, are 2 of the funniest guys that ever lived and still are. Marx Brothers, people like that. I found a very funny man and tremendous writings, and I was very much influenced by James Thurber.
Mm-hmm.
And also Benchley, I thought was a very funny man.
Robert Benchley.
And I read a lot of O. Henry, so I guess it was more writers than it was comedians. Not that I didn't enjoy comedians, because I did, but those guys really, I think it was through their stories.
You were a great nightclub stand-up comedian, but that took a terrible toll on you, right?
Well, it's, you know, how would you like to stand up there, I always say in defense of stand-up comedians, with a microphone, and especially play Vegas where you're getting big money, I'm not complaining, get a lot of bread, but you've got to hit the long ball out of the park, because those cowboys about 6 feet away, "Hey, you stink, you clown. We just crossed the street and seen Liberace, and then sequins and everything else, and that half-ass outfit he had on, he was a lot funnier than you." Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a lot of horses and they stampede you to death. And then, of course, they get up and spur you and everything. You never know what's going to happen down there. But you got to, the thing is, the pressure lies in that you've got to hit the long ball. And if you don't, people visit your dressing room. And you go for a ride on Lake Mead, which is most unusual, without the water skis. You're just pulled around by a rope until you're drowned.
So you don't do that anymore?
No, that's out. I'm down to writing, painting, but no, I'm doing, I still enjoy television, and it's, hey, and when I say still enjoy it, it's fed me in more ways than one.
That just about does it for this evening. Hope you've had a lot of fun and enjoyed our little show. And watch us in the weeks to come. Oh, incidentally, there's a signal from the mothership. They're trying to tell me something. What is it? They're trying to tell me something. Is that what they were trying to tell me? Don't forget those Tums, will you? I'll see you next week.
Stay tuned. Later, we'll be right back.
Back with Jonathan Winters. You remember the first fantasies you had as a kid, the first imaginary characters you created?
I can't talk about those.
Imaginary characters, then.
Yeah, I can't names offhand. Being an only child, I had a lot of characters. I mean, and also I picked up on my grandfather. From him, I'd do another older man like maybe Uncle Emmett, who is... Uncle Emmett, how are you?
Oh, real good. Listen, I don't know why my hand moves like this, and a cat must think I'm waving at him. See if you can find my shoes. No, they're not there.
Well, old people, it's an interesting thing. If you ask a young man to turn around, boy, he'll whip around like this. Old people, if you'll say there are 5 people with Uzis in back of you, old person will go like this.
Yeah.
It's just, they don't care anymore, I guess. But I studied a lot. Well, everybody was around me. That Grandma Frickert came from an Aunt Clara I had, you know, and then I just made her kind of a dirty old woman. She fantasized a lot of studs that were 28 and 30 and put her in a bracket of marrying some 12 guys. And, hey, he's a nice-looking man. God, you can crack walnuts on his butt. He's cute.
It's obvious that you and Carson get along. I mean, he revels in your company when you're on the show. But Ed Blabby is Maude Frickett, right? Do you have a problem with that?
Well, to tell you very honestly, I get along with Johnny. And it's one of the few places I find that I can play and really genuinely have a good time. He's been there quite a while, I guess, 25, 30 years, whatever. And I don't think that, certainly as of now, I'm any threat to him. And we have a good rapport. The thing is, right in these halls, I mean, there's, for instance, you go out down that hall and you'll see a picture of Milton Berle in drag. So they've been playing in drag probably since the time of Caesar, or whenever anybody had a dress. Maybe the Philistines. Probably a few guys wore dresses, especially if they wanted...
Referring to Sid or Julius?
Yes, Julius. I think if they wanted to stay out of war, then you get into a dress quick.
Yeah.
It's one way of not getting into the Macedonian War or whatever. Well, at any rate, I designed my old lady, and I put on the bun and the dress and had some fun. And the only thing is that in not playing Grandma Frickert on Carson's show is if Johnny's on year-round and 4 or 5 times a week, so if he wants to play Aunt Blabby 4 or 5 times, he can and does whenever he wants to. It's his show. The thing is, if I come on, I think people get confused and say, hey, Jonathan is stolen.
They think you're ripping him off.
That's right.
Robin Williams, what's your relationship with him? Briefly, you were on Mork and Mindy together, which was a twist because you played his son.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
in a certain symbolic sense, he's your son. Yeah,
that's right. Robin, to me, is, oh boy, that's a very, that's more than an article. That's more than a book. This guy, I've always said, first off, we're friends, and I think we have sort of hopefully a great respect for one another in many ways. It's like a great air show. Instead of having a Sopwith Camel, however, and a Stearman, or a glider, or the Goodyear blimp, an SR-71, you've got the F-1000, and the canopy's back, and Robin is going around just once or twice around the pylon, and if you don't catch that, and you don't catch it with an Instamatic, you don't get it with a Hasselblad, you better get it with something. But this clown is... And it's usually this for about an hour, and you come away saying, what did the kid do? God, I think I have pretty good orbs, you know. Sometimes the sound is a little gone, but in following him, you've got to be some kind of dude to follow Robin Williams. He is that kind of guy. It's a one-man air show.
Improvisation. In other words... Derived from that word improvisaturum, meaning to put chrome on caca, yes? To juggle nothing, to take that which is not there and make it something. To actually whittle from the noun and go upon and not be a time. To talk like this for no reason and make people think you have some reason. No, I don't do that very much, but I can. Let me ask you to do a little improvisational piece, if I may.
You're right, my lord, if I may.
Would you make fun of Her Highness? Yes, the Queen. The Queen. How would you do the Queen?
Well, from behind, Your Grace.
She's not here, so feel free to...
Do the Queen for you, my Grace.
Yes.
All right. Your Grace, how old are you? This many. I know, Your Grace. It'll mean something one day.
I hold in my hand a copy of Hang-Ups, paintings by Jonathan Winters. I'm told that Bill Cosby, Bob Hope, Alice Cooper all own Jonathan Winters paintings. Paintings with titles like Crazy Old Woman at the Beach with Sunburned Boobs.
Alice Cooper owns that.
He does?
Yeah. Bill Cosby, and Bill, wherever you are, I gave Bill a painting called A Tree in South Boston. Bill, I need money now. Please send me a handsome amount. People will tell you that money isn't everything. That's a lie. You give me all the money you want, I'll be the judge of it.
What about two birds watching Doris Day's dog and cat drown in the pool?
Yes.
It's in there somewhere.
This book took me, believe it or not, well, to do all the painting. I guess I started painting in art school back in Ohio, but seriously painting in the 60s, early 60s.
Yeah.
And then I put my first show together in 72. 72 or 73 in California. And so this is a collection of those paintings. There are about 50 plates. The cover is...
You're selling this baby.
Yeah, I'm selling this baby. I am. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
No, it's all right.
Artists have a way of doing this.
You're
and probably if I came to your home, Bob, I would bring this. And if there were as many as 20 to 40 people, I don't know how many people you know, I rent people myself. I'm afraid of real friends. I would hold him up before I was introduced. Please buy this. The money is not for me, it's for my children.
Of course it is.
Who are 38 and 32. But the painting, I just, if you see this, it's called The First and Last Day of Spring, which a woman said, what are the little licorice things? And I said, they stick to the town. They're bombs.
Yeah, they are bombs, evidently.
But it's hopefully a fun book. And
what about the book of short stories, Winter's Tales?
Winter's Tales is a collection. That took me 5 years to do that. I sat down. People would say, well, why did it take so long? I guess a writer would understand. But I really, I guess it took that long because I had a few other things I had to do to crowd in there, make a living. And, but I'm proud of that little book. It was 14 weeks on the bestseller list, New York Times. And we sold upwards of over 200,000 copies now in paperback.
When you're on stage, now or in the past, how much of what you did up there just came to you, and how much did you have at least a working outline for?
Oh, hey, you know, you got to have a game plan. You play these joints, especially in the days of playing clubs and any place. I take more chances today. To me, acting, comedy, is taking chances. I mean, if you just go out with set routines, that's okay.
Right.
But to me, I'm not lecturing the other guy and telling him what to do. I think what it's all about is taking chances. Go out there and do that. If it dies, just better have something over here, however. If they don't go for the first 5 minutes and you hear nothing, then it's time to do the chicken being blown up in the garage.
What is it with you and bees? The characters,
Oh,
Boom
God.
Boom Bailey, right?
Oh,
The
that's
sports
right.
announcer, Boom Boom Bailey.
I went out
and
dressed as a bee. Well, you love sports, of course, I know. And I did a guy called Rick Randell. You know, hi, Rick Randell here. Certainly a magnificent day with me. I have Charles Brittler. It's Buck Brittler, isn't it, Buck? Old Slowball Brittler was your dad. You had a tremendous season. Of course, I interviewed myself because on radio, and we couldn't afford to have anybody up. Nobody wanted to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they still don't. So I just interviewed myself. And Buck, what's it like to be the #1 pitcher in the American and the National League?
Well, I suppose I consider myself, you know, real lucky. I got a good fastball. I did this year, and clocked over better than no one from 09, over 100, 112 mile an hour. And I've kept myself in fairly good condition. And in the off season, my wife and I are interested in illegitimate children, and we see that they are allowed to fish. Their cricket we have 50,000 acres. some of it's national park, and we go in there and kill deer before I have to go to training.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you're loved by so many people, except the animals.
Say, would you like to come back tomorrow? You can wear the same clothes.
Well, I'm afraid, Bob, I'll have to wear the same clothes. My clothes in the hotel were taken from me.
How so?
I don't want to go into that, Bob. I'll have primarily the same things, and I look forward to coming back. It's been a lot of fun. I still have a couple of things that I want to get, and baseball cards look kind of neat. Maybe the King Kong. I see King Kong in there with Faye.
We can negotiate.
Okay.
Tomorrow. See you then. Thanks for staying up later. I'm Bob Costas. When a guy shows up 2 nights in a row, you got to help him peddle the product. Here we have Jonathan Winter's collection of paintings. Actually, I guess they would be a book of the paintings, not the paintings themselves. Hang-ups, paintings by Jonathan Winters, and his collection of short stories, Winter's Tales, is now out in paperback. When did you decide you wanted to be a performer?
Well, I was in art school, and my wife turned to me and she said, "Look at your work." She was a great help to me. And
You were married young.
oh God, I thought it was a pretend wedding. You know, when you put a paper band on a cigar band, I thought they were kidding, and it turned out it was real. But at any rate, yeah, I was 2 months short of 23.
Yeah.
And she said, "Put the art down. I think you should try to." This is a true story, pathetic, but it's true. And she said, "They're giving away a wristwatch down at the Colonial Theater. It's in Dayton. Why don't you go down? You're doing funnies." Those times, I was doing a lot of funnies then. And
Just around the house and not getting paid for it.
that's right.
In Dayton, Ohio.
I was, boy, just around the bed, you know. And so I went down and won the watch. And the guy called me up, head of the programming for WING, about 3 days later. He said, "How'd you like to be a disc jockey and have your own show?" I said, "How much money are we talking about?" I remember from the service what they gave us. And he said, "How about $65 a week? For starters, your own show, 6 to 8. What time do I have to arrive?" Talking about signing on at 6 o'clock in the morning. You have to get up about 5, 4:30. How far do you have to come from? Turned to my wife, held it over there, and I said, "They're talking about $65 and me going this length. Hey, come on, getting up. I've been getting up at 5 for the last 3 years in the service, 4:30, 3:30. I don't want to go down and take the job, John." So that's how it started, and that was 1949, and a year in radio. Then I went to Columbus and the CBS affiliate, where I met your friend of mine, Jack Buck, and did 2.5 years over there. Went in for a $5 raise. This is after 2.5 years. We don't have it. We just don't have it. So I'm fortunate that they didn't have it. Of course, they did have it. The guy had it on him. At any rate, I said, "I'm going to New York." I was a cocky kid, and I was broke. And I turned to my wife, and I had one little boy, which is now a big boy of 38. But I said, "I'm going to New York. See if the monkey's playing with a little girl in the building, King Kong."
Well, thanks for the explanation.
Well, a lot of folks who don't know, you know, they're saying.
What kind of monkey was it?
You know, Fay Ray's still living.
Oh, I know that. Is she?
Yeah.
Fay?
I just thought I'd throw that in.
How you doing? Remember? Guy touched you on the building? Ooh.
Isn't this an odd thing, though? King Kong's holding Fay Ray out over Manhattan. However many, 102 stories up,
least.
right? And she's wriggling around trying to get out of his hand. Now, under ordinary circumstances, you would want to extricate yourself from a monkey's grasp as quickly as possible. But considering the alternative, even given the smelly, sweaty hand, if she succeeds and she gets loose, she's plunging straight to her doom.
What happened?
Well, she didn't get loose. Then they shot him down with the airplanes.
What did the monkey do to her?
Well, we can only speculate.
You know what he did? Seriously. Now, he
But
placed...
no man ever caught her fancy thereafter.
Well, hey, sweaty and that huge palm, but he placed her in a small bed.
Yes, he did.
He put her in that bed.
In the tower. When he knew he was going down for the count, he slipped her into the tower. Boom, that was it. Bruce Cabot came up and grabbed her. He hit the deck, and then Robert Armstrong said it was Beauty killed the beast. I brought up the theme song, and it was over.
Biplanes machine gunning him. His eyes fascinated me. That, you know, doing this. I just didn't believe it was a real gorilla. And I wasn't a great intellectual as a child any more than I am now, but I didn't believe it was a real gorilla. The planes didn't. They flew jerkily around him.
Yeah.
And I like to see a plane go. These planes were like this and little wires, and the monkeys.
He swatted a few of them down, though.
And gorillas. Now, I just saw gorillas in the mist, and you could see some of the stitching. But
most of those were real gorillas with Sigourney
I'm sorry.
Weaver.
Oh, I didn't know
There were
that.
only like a few prop gorillas in that deal.
Oh, I thought 4 or 5 of them were fake. No? Well, then
not
the
so
guy
far as
that was
I know.
Well, I shouldn't have gone with that stunt guy. He told me that. God damn it.
Can you get on an elevator for real, or walk down the street, or walk into a room of new acquaintances without being demanded, without having it demanded of you to perform, to go into one of your characters?
Sure.
People give you that kind of peace of mind now? Or they demand it of you to the point where it's driving you loony?
I think the interesting thing that's said to the funny men, probably far too often, I don't know, I've never been able to analyze it, but it's completely. People will say, be funny. And I will always say, well, I would if I thought you'd get it. Would you ask Joe Montana to throw a football the length of the aircraft? Would you ask a guy, all right, Hershiser of the Dodgers, let's see what kind of ball you can use out here in the yard or wherever, in the living room. How do you use your bat to tell what you... The guy's not just in sports, but almost anything. You're a vice president or president of IBM. Do a number. How would you work with the computers and stuff? Yeah. If you're a dentist, pull a tooth. If you're a lawyer, do a trial. Stand up and do something now. But we're always expected to get up, you know, and do something instantly, where other people in other professions, you know, are fortunate. And then people say, well, they can't do anything. Well, they can steal a lot of money from you. Yeah, let's take a look at some of the lawyers. They're hilarious. You should have read this. You see these little fine lines? God, you screwed me. It took me for $15 million. That's right. Harvard Law, Wharton Business School, 2 years at Yale. It's unfortunate. Learn to read. Yeah, Lafayette didn't pay off for you. Ugh. Sunk it to you.
Jonathan Winters, more tonight on Later.
Is this seat taken?
No.
A lot of them are, you know.
Well,
You have to purchase them, you know, before you go on the trip.
well, no one's had it for...
No one's had it?
No, sir.
Good.
No, sir.
Beautiful day.
It is a lovely
It's going to
day.
get rough tomorrow.
You can tell, or you...
Well, I've been on these things every year.
Yes.
Yes, every year. I'm single, and that's all I do is just take these cruises. They're a lot of fun. Meet lots of girls.
Yeah.
Wonderful guys. It's a lot of...
Are you married?
Hit the chair, didn't you? Hit your crazy bone.
When you did that kind of stuff on the Jack Parr show, when he had that morning show in the early 50s, before he became the host of The Tonight Show, how did that strike people? And that had to come from Mars, right?
Well, I've never questioned, Bob, where it's come from. I think that we're all on... hey, Shirley MacLaine, you know, is probably... What? I think we're all on different frequencies, channels, you can call it what you want to call it. I believe in a lot of things, and some of the things I certainly question, some of them I don't. I think that if you can get that antenna going, and you're getting some signals, hey, let's turn the dials up, man, and go for it. But improvisation has been going on for a long, long time. In some respect, it isn't looking down at my fellow performers at all, and I'm talking about the younger people. I can remember coming here at NBC, I remember CBS, and saying, I can do some improvisation. Wait, please, don't ever do that. Try to stay with what is written. I've tried to. It's terrible. Get out. Sorry. It's just so bad.
How much of what you've done comedically through the years is inspired by some kind of pain and anxiety?
Oh, I think that pain is, I think all of us, hopefully, God, I wouldn't want to be a person that didn't have some pain. I think that sounds strange, I guess, to a lot of people. I think you need a certain amount of pain. I mean, if it's just like life going along like this, and no chuck holes, you know. Here, drive on. Gosh, this road is certainly, I wish we'd see a little corduroy road. It's got to be some pain. I'm one guy that I don't complain too much. And when I do, I check myself, because I remember Dick Cavett asked me one time to come on and do an in-depth interview. Whatever that was or is, I think it was about an hour. And he said,
yeah,
how would you like to come in for an hour and we'll just talk about you? And I said, how much is it for me? And he said, well, there'll be a room at the St. Regis and a bowl of fruit, chocolate mints on the pillow, and tremendous exposure. And I remember the other day, I got the same thing. Now, I haven't seen Dick, and of course he's off the air, I mean, as far as the show. But exposure is a strange word. And I went in and I saw a $100 sweater. It was $125. And I said, I want that sweater. And the woman said, will that be cash or a charge, Mr. Winters? And I put out my hand, and she said, I don't see a card. I don't see any cash. I said, that's exposure. They don't take it in stores. But it is exposure, as we know. But when I sit in here and you're talking about pain, to answer your question, and to say, what about a certain amount of pain over one's life? Sure. But if I sit in this particular chic chair...
It's very chic.
Yeah, it's very chic.
Yeah.
This is a lot what we have at home. A warehouse was on fire. We were able to get 2 of these. And so, at any rate, the thing is to complain and say, and Dick was honest in this. I'm not putting him down to say, hey, didn't you have some trouble here? You got a little squirrely here, the sauce, the gasoline. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, for him to ask that question, or for me to answer it and start to say, God, you know, these were terrible times for me, Bob. And I want to tell people that at one time I had to do this, and another time put the gasoline down, and I ran into the tree, and a lot of the squirrels were killed instantly. The guy out there making, let's say, tops, $12,500 a year, and he's got 4 kids, and a guy back from Vietnam who's been badly shattered and mentally and physically, and a little girl that's had problems in school, and the farm is up for grabs, as a lot of farms are, and he hears Jonathan Winters complaining about his little time. He had to do some time up here to get his head on straight, or with his problem with sauce, and he's saying, hey, what's this? This guy's telling me about his problems, making this kind of bread, and that little guy out there is right.
Well, maybe he sees it the other way, though. Maybe he says, well, here's a guy who's successful, whom I admire, or I'm drawn to him, and yet he had his problems, so that's a little bit of shared humanity.
I would like to believe you're right, but I think the majority of the people, you've got to put yourself in that position. You're sitting 12 miles out of Topeka, and it's 30 below, and we're here in the studio, and I'm making 6 figures a year, and you're making hopefully 7. And between the 2 of us, we can keep the chairs and the jukebox. Oh, God, Martha, these poor devils. Poor Bob has 2 homes. He has 2. So, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I want to feel sorry for you, and you probably, hopefully, want to feel sorry for me. But that guy out there, and God love him, I can put myself out there because I've been out there. I've been out there when it was cold, I'm sure you have. I've been on those cattle calls. I worked in factories. I shucked some corn and picked apricots with some Mexicans, and done a few little things that still, I can see the black lunchbox, you know. What'd you get today?
Yeah.
Peanut butter sandwich. What a wonderful thrill. Stalk of celery. Oh, God. Hey, are we going to get a dime extra?
I don't know, man. I can't stand it anymore. 2 of my fingers was cut off, and they don't insure this plant. What am I going to do?
Take these and paste them on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You've
What a wonderful man,
You've
Christian.
certainly given me a different perspective on the entire issue. So no more of this sob sister talk, that's for sure.
That's right, that's out.
Back after this.
Hello again. My name's Oscar Devling, and as you probably know, I've been heading up these shows some 25 years. And having a wonderful, 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 wonderful time putting them together. The boys and girls are getting more fun to work with every year. And before we get underway with the three young singers that we're going to present you this evening, and they're three wonderful boys. I'm not kidding. I can't say too much about them. I do want to just make a few announcements, if I may. Okay, while you're finishing up your sherbet. Number one, I'd like to thank past Commander Ed Davenport for giving us the post tonight. Thanks so much, Ed. Please don't come up here, a little sauce. Don't do it, Ed. Oh, you're drunk. Somebody grab him. Get him. Then I wanted to thank Mrs. Quayford, Agatha Quayford, out there in the kitchen, and all those hot, sweaty women.
If I were to hang around your house for a weekend,
Yes.
what would I find you to be like? In the house, waking up in the morning, walking around.
Not funny.
No, not funny?
Not in the morning. I don't say a lot, believe it or not. I go out and get the paper. This is very dull. I used to have a dog, but he constantly bit the guy that delivered the paper, so there were still a lot of suits. The dog hung on to him and took his life. Oh, yeah. And so now I have a dog on a track, comes right down, and we lose him that way. So anyway, I get down the paper and I get the paper, and then I come in, I have coffee, some grapefruit. I go right to the sports page, which a lot of intellectuals do, and I read I know what's going to be on the cover, you know, war in some section of the world, earthquake, malaria in a zoo or something. So
An outbreak of malaria in the San Diego Zoo is always good for at least page 2.
Well, I read the financial thing. I don't have any money in the stock market, but I'm fascinated how they take the money out. And I guess that's about it.
And inspiration comes to you at some point?
Then, along about 9.
A.M. or P.M.?
No, 9 a.m.
Yes.
I start to get clothes on. And I don't come down the buff. I don't wear pajamas. I come down in World War II shorts. And do a lot of this with my wife. All right, move them out. All I want to see are heels and another word. But no, I don't do that to her. She wouldn't care for that. But I'm very, what I consider extremely normal and dull in the morning. I don't like to, my wife is fascinated by television, and thank God television is with us. But I try to, I know I'm going to hear about a lot of death, crashes, wars, everything else, and so I go to music. I try to find a little, what we call, my kids call elevator music or dental music, something like that.
What sort of woman is this who's been married to you for 40 years?
Probably one of the greatest human beings I've ever known in my life. She's a lovely lady. She and I have been through a lot together, as you know. I mean, when you're talking about 40 years. She's very pretty. I poured a lot of money in her. Bob, it's like a Buick. If you want to sell it ever, I don't want to sell her. Certainly not in America. I think we go to another continent. Could bring some
resale value higher.
Resale.
Yeah.
No, she's a great gal, and she's got a great sense of humor. She once said to me, which she didn't have to say, she said, I think you're one of the funniest guys in the world. I think that you're a great success. I've always been behind you. I always will. She said, people have called you a genius. That's okay. I'll go along with that. The day that you think you're a genius, you're out of my life. And probably you'll be out of your guard. And
Don't you have moments of genius, though?
God, I hope so. This alone, being right here in this chair with you, one of the top guys in television, day or night.
Yeah.
A lot funnier than David Letterman.
Oh, no question. As witnessed by the hour that we're on the air. They don't want to take a top guy and stick him on in prime time.
David has said to me on occasion, I hear from him only through letters, because I know he doesn't see a lot of people. He said, Bob is tops.
Yeah.
I find you a very attractive man. I hope, because there's not a lot of money.
Flattered.
My understanding, Bob, there's not a lot of money.
No.
These are fake toys. It would be good taste if you said to me, I hope you'll say this somewhere along the line before I have to leave the fake carpet. I don't think Persians did this. That's okay. If you say to me, pick out something, John, within reason.
Consider it said. What would you like to take with you, sort of, you know, as a parting gift, a lovely parting gift?
How about you, Bob? I tell you why. Because I need
take me physically home to Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, no, we're not going back to Dayton.
We're not going to Dayton?
I need a companion to get me to Chicago.
How are we traveling?
What way do you want to go?
Well, I'm not sure I really want to be booked on the trip at all, but I'd just like to get all the particulars in a row before I make a decision.
God, what the story on that clown?
No, I must tell you, I guess time has run out, hasn't it?
Well,
I'm sure it has, gang. Look.
Just in time for the Christmas rush. This, folks, is the ideal Christmas gift. Hang-ups. Paintings by Jonathan Winters, including works such as 3 bluebirds full of marbles and Crazy Old Woman at the beach with sunburned boobs.
You go right down to that store now. Please. Not for me, it's my children.